Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Average Korean Man from South Korea. Recently, I watched news talking about more and more young Koreans, meaning people in their 20s and 30s, are choosing to rest rather than work. Let me just read the article for you guys real quick. So, according to a report released by the Bank of Korea, the proportion of economically inactive young people aged between 25 and 34 reached 422,000 in the third quarter of this year. That's up more than 25% from last year when it stood at 336,000. On the news, they said that the reason for this is because young people these days cannot find the jobs that they want, or they got fired from their jobs. And they talked like this is the only reason, but I don't think that is true. And today I'm going to talk about why I think more and more young people these days, especially in Korea, are choosing to rest rather than work. The reason I'm about to tell you is my personal thought, so just to let you know that. And of course, everybody has his or her own story for taking a rest rather than work. Some people, of course, got fired. Some people just want, better jobs. And there are many more reasons. I know that. But today I'm gonna tell you the reason that I think is one of the most important reasons. So let's get started. Back 20-30 years ago, when I was very young, when I was a child, my parents' generation used to work 6 days a week. And some people used to work 7 days a week. And working 6 days a week back then was a normal thing, and nobody actually complained about it because it was accepted by the society. That's how life was back then. And young people these days complain how hard life is, how difficult life is. But I think my parents' generation had tougher lives. But here, when I say tougher, it's different kind of toughness. What my parents went through and what my generation is going through. So I think mentally and physically, my parents' generation had tougher life. And again, this is just my personal thought, because my father had to work 6 days a week, and also people in that generation had to work 6 to 7 days a week, and they worked like 12, 13, 14 hours a day, and that was normal, and they couldn't complain about it. So I think they had a tougher life in that way, mentally and physically. Fathers back then, 20 to 30 years ago, could afford a family of 4. Just like my father, he worked and he could afford a family of 4, like my mom and my sister and I. And also, if they saved a lot of money, they could buy a house. Maybe not a luxury house in Seoul, but still they could buy a house in the future. That was possible back then. And I think that's what made them keep going. That's what made them not complain about their lives, how hard their lives are, how tough it is to work 6 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day. So they had hope for their future. And also, when I was in the elementary school, I used to go to school 6 days a week. Saturdays were not off days back then. Saturday was a working day for my parents, and Saturdays were going to school days for my generation. And At some point, it changed to going to school once in 2 weeks. So during my high school years, I used to go to school on Saturdays once in 2 weeks. And now it's gone and Saturdays are off days. But these days, the young people in their 20s and 30s, feel like they have no hope in the future. No matter how hard they work, no matter how much money they save, they cannot afford to buy a house in the future. They cannot afford to get married. They cannot afford a family of 4 or even 3. Nowadays, every mom and every dad have to work to afford their child. And I think that is the biggest reason for young people choosing to take a rest rather than work. It's not about how tough their lives are right now. It's about what the future is gonna be like for them. They don't see the future. Anyways, I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say over here. Today I'm gonna end the video here, everyone. Thank you for watching my video once again. See you next time. Bye bye.